Welcome to another episode of Context. I'm Dilek Tuna. Now, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is preparing for a high-stakes diplomatic tour, touching down in Iran, Azerbaijan and Türkiye, with a message of gratitude for recent diplomatic backing during Pakistan's tensions with India. But this is more than a thank you trip, as regional dynamics continue to shift from the India-Pakistan rivalry to deepening trilateral cooperation across the Middle East, South Asia and the Caucasus. This tour is a signal that Islamabad is repositioning itself in a changing strategic landscape. Today on Context, we ask, what does this bout of diplomacy really mean? Is it gratitude or groundwork? And how are Iran, Azerbaijan and Türkiye recalibrating their own roles in this broader regional chessboard? Joining me on the program today to discuss are Shehraz Mehmood Khan, a research scholar at Western Caspian University from Baku, Shujat Ahmedzadeh, an independent researcher from Baku, and Professor Dr. Kamer Kasım from Bolu Abant İzzet Baysal University, the Department of International Relations from Bolu, Türkiye. Gentlemen, a warm welcome to you all. Now, my first question.
Thank you.
My first question is for Shehraz. Is this diplomatic tour a response to specific support during recent India tensions, or is it part of a larger foreign policy reset under Shehbaz Sharif?
Thank you so very much for inviting me. The thing is that, this India and Pakistan recent, a very short war has actually changed the dynamics of the geopolitical dynamics in the region, because there was a very short but a very active war between the two countries. It was not just the two nuclear powers, but it was actually a shift between two bigger powers of the region. It was U.S. and China, which is substantially. U.S. was partners with, strategic partner, a very big strategic partner with India, and China is obviously a strategic partner with Pakistan. So this kind of a shift was like this is one unprecedented shift in recent years. So the security is the biggest issue in this part of the world. Pakistan, Azerbaijan, and Türkiye already have a very good bilateral and trilateral relationships between their countries. Astana, when all the three head of the states met in Astana. After that, the trilateral relations actually were boosted between the countries. Strategically, they are very important for each other. Militarily, yes. Azerbaijan and Pakistan and Turkey, they have strategic goals in the region, and a lot of things are very similar in that strategic goals. They have all economic goals in the region. They are bilaterally and trilaterally connected to each other. They have economic cooperation, strategic cooperation, military cooperations. They do drills together. So military drills together, they do go for the exercises. The recent exercise which took place back in Karachi in 2025, which was Amman 2025, which was basically about maritime affairs, and Azerbaijan and Pakistan and Turkey were part of it. Pakistan invited Azerbaijan and Türkiye, and it was one of the biggest maritime exercises held in this year. So security is a bigger issue after post this Pakistan and India conflict.
Mm-hmm. Okay. My next question is for Shujat from Azerbaijan's point of view. Shujat, what is the strategic value of deepening ties with Pakistan beyond symbolic gestures of support?
Pakistan has always been quite important country for Azerbaijan.
ever since its early days of independence. First, when Azerbaijan got its independence, it was one of the few countries that extended, without anything in return, a diplomatic hand to Azerbaijan, especially in international organizations such as Organization of Islamic Cooperation, United Nations. Just to remind that the four United Nations Security Council resolutions dating back to 1993 that concerned Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict and occupation of Azerbaijan territories have been adopted also with diplomatic support of Pakistan. So ever since the first days of independence, there was this element of Pakistani hand into Azerbaijan's problems that it could face in multilateral scenes. Then later on, this later became a sort of interstate consensus that both in Pakistan, both in Islamabad and Baku, that this relationship has to be expanded. That would cover a lot of areas, including economy, defense, military security, culture, and tourism. So, for example, when you look at the economy, you have very minimal trade happening between the two countries, but there is a more space to expand on. I think from now on we'll be seeing more and more such expansion.
Okay. And Dr. Kamer, how does Turkey see its evolving role as a connector between South Asia and the Middle East?
Yes, actually, from the point of the Turkish foreign policy, Southeast Asia getting more and more important, especially starting from the year 2000. Economically developed region attract attention of Turkey, and Turkey fastly developed its relations with the regional countries. One of the reasons actually for this is that, of course, the rising power of China in the region, and it is a project of one belt, one road, and that is why Turkey started to interested in the region. But also Turkey's ties with the region goes back to the history. Turkey and Pakistan always, since the independence of Pakistan, have good relations, and this continue until today. But we shouldn't forget that real opening of Turkish foreign policy towards the Turkestan region and beyond happened after the disintegration of the Soviet Union, because all Turkic republics became independent with the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and Turkey established strong relations with all Turkic republics, and this also created a kind of bridge between countries Southeast Asia to Turkey, and Turkey always become the one of the first countries that initiate regional cooperation. Actually, one of the important features of Turkey's foreign policy is that is the strong supporter of regional cooperation, and also Turkey very dedicated itself to be a member of regional organizations. For example, Turkey even became a member of a dialogue partner of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which also became a part of Turkish diplomacy, as it is related to our subject as well. In Astana 2024, Turkey, Azerbaijan and Pakistan leaders, Aliyev, Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Shahbaz Sharif met in the Trilateral format in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting of councils of head of the state. So this indicates that actually in the post-Cold War era, Turkish foreign policy opened many parts of the world, but priority was that since the disintegration of the Soviet Union in the Turkic republics, Turkestan region, and also beyond Southeast region. In fact, if we look to the Turkey's frequent visits, trade ties, it became quite clear actually.
Okay. Now, Shiraz, earlier in the piece, you made a strong point about Pakistan having trilateral relationships with Baku and Ankara, and also bilateral relationships with each of those countries. They have strategic goals, common strategic goals, economic goals, and they're committed to each other in terms of a military cooperation. I want to talk about the Zangezur corridor for a moment. It's increasingly tied to broader geopolitical ambitions. So, given Pakistan's close alignment with Ankara and Baku, do you see Islamabad playing a more active role in supporting or benefiting from this route, whether it's economic, strategic, or symbolic?
All right. So the economic ties of the three countries are obviously there. We have a one big project we have in this region is Belt and Road Initiative, and which is extended, which becomes CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor in Pakistan. So recently in the past, the Chinese foreign minister and our foreign minister met the representative in Afghanistan. Afghanistan was the biggest issue for connect. I mean, Afghanistan was the strategically located. It is the shortest route to the warm waters. We have the Indian Ocean. So if Afghanistan becomes the part of CPAC, which we have already, with Chinese we have already offered them, that would bring in a real-time connectivity of Turkey to the Caucasus, and then in through Central Asian countries, and then Afghanistan, and it would be the shortest route towards the South Asia and beyond in the Middle East. So yes, this was the biggest development because Afghanistan had been a problem in the region for quite some time. Not only for Pakistan, Turkey, or Azerbaijan, but for the security of the Turkic world, of the Turkic countries in the region. So if this corridor comes up, because we have one middle corridor, which is the only option left now, because the northern corridor is because we have sanctions on the Russian side. We have a lot of sanctions maybe going towards the Russian side. More sanctions are coming. So the middle corridor is the only passage which would be the only source of connectivity between one region to another region, from Europe to the Caucasus to the Caspian, and then further, to the South Asia and beyond.
Okay. Shujat, how does the emerging Türkiye-Azerbaijan-Pakistan axis fit into Baku's broader foreign policy? And could this triangle become a more formalized bloc?
In fact, ever since 2010s, Azerbaijani foreign policy is being regarded as a mix of multi-balancing and non-balancing, multi-alignment with non-alignment. So wherein you have Azerbaijan non-aligning with anyone, with any military bloc, with any one military unit, at the same time multi-aligning with different actors, like-minded partners, which includes Pakistan and Turkey. Definitely you have this Turkish-Azerbaijani-Pakistani dimension there, which is being manifested in form of largely defense and security and foreign policy coordination areas, where you have more and more emphasis on foreign policy dialogue and also more and more emphasis on military security aspects. But the problem is that Azerbaijan and Pakistan are disconnected also with a number of reasons with each other in terms of their economic ties. One being the economic relations here, and given these two countries do not have connectivity linchpins that would connect each other. In the future, they could be developed, as our Pakistani guest said, that there is a possibility of Afghanistan joining in a wider spectrum of the connectivity configurations. But at this point, this remains to be seen, to be honest.
Okay. Dr. Kamer, given Ankara's increasingly assertive foreign policy, is this visit about solidifying a new bloc or balancing rivalries?
Actually, it is not really, it cannot be considered really a bloc, but we know that these countries have good relations with each other. And also when the regional problems increase or any country face the problem with its neighbor or with other countries, these countries support each other. Mm-hmm. And it is the nature of the alliance actually. It is not, really to block against any kind of countries where any kind of country of blocks. This cannot be considered against anybody, but Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Pakistan cooperation and coordination helps to build regional peace and stability. Imagine if there is no connection between these three states and there is no cooperation, and there will be more instability, more conflict. And in fact, we have seen this in the recent conflict between Pakistan and India. And Turkey and Azerbaijan gave diplomatic support to Pakistan. And in return, Pakistan was able to resist pressure from India. So this health crisis ended relatively quickly, and the most important thing actually, with the support of Turkey, Azerbaijan, and other allied countries to Pakistan, Pakistan-Indian conflict didn't spread to the other regions. Mm-hmm. This indicates that for regional stability and peace, these kind of trilateral formats, trilateral alliances is needed, and it is good for regional security.
Okay. Now, Shiraz, based on what Dr. Kamer just mentioned there, in terms of India and a message perhaps to India, what message is Pakistan trying to send to India and the broader international community with this multi-country outreach?
Okay, so we have, Pakistan, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. We have a lot of things in common. Pakistan supports Azerbaijan on Karabakh issue, so as Turkey supports Azerbaijan on Karabakh. We, as Pakistan and Azerbaijan, support them on their issues, and on Cyprus issue, and obviously both of them on Kashmir. So this is one part of it. This is things we have in common. Azerbaijan recently won a very amazing this conflict, which was between Azerbaijan and Karabakh conflict, and this is the recent example. Pakistan won this recent conflict with two or 3 days, whatever it was. It was a short but very precise and very substantial. Mm-hmm. So these things are common. What Pakistan is trying to give message to the world is, as Azerbaijan takes care of its territorial integrity, and Azerbaijan did their good job in Karabakh and liberated all the territories, so is Pakistan taking care of this territorial integrity. Anyone who comes in the territories would not be spared. That is a very crisp and clear message from Pakistan, not only to India but to the region. Mm-hmm. So this support actually, I would my recommendation or my urge would be that there should be a formal organization structure formed between the three countries, and then the other countries can obviously join in, the Turkic states and all that. So that does not only counterbalance the other powers in the region, but that would be a very good mix of these three brotherly countries. And of course, Turkey has its own problems in Cyprus as well. So we all support each other, and then we have Pakistan is one of the toughest militaries in this region. Pakistan has been in the war on terror for 20 years. So, very well trained and all that. Turkey obviously is a good military might as well. Azerbaijan has done its job. We three, the three countries are very powerful in their own domains. So this trilateral cooperation would be actually the middle power trilateral cooperation. And if it comes into under a proper umbrella of an organization, like other small organizations in the region, that would be really beneficial for these three countries. We have military cooperations, we have economic cooperations, and then we have cultural ties, and so on and so forth. So this needs to come under one umbrella or one organization name.
Okay. Shujat, I'm interested to hear your view on Shiraz's idea there of the formation of a formal organizational structure counterbalancing other countries in the region. What would you like to add to that, or what's your opinion there?
I think there already exists a sort of institutional cooperation between these three countries, but it does not necessarily mean that the three countries are in together against one or any other country. So this cooperation needs to be understood and envisioned not in a form that it emerges sort of antagonistic regional power against X, Y, Z. So it is more of a platform for the cooperation rather than that is united forces against X, because Azerbaijan, Pakistan, and Turkey do have a lot in common, and in terms of also possible areas of cooperation. Whether we need to create sort of a trilateral institution. The question is, yes, there already exists such an institution. That is Baku, Islamabad, Ankara, multilateral and multi-layered dialogue platforms. Whether in the history of international relations system, in this context, there exist such models in which you have trilateral military blocs being emerged, I'm a bit skeptical on that. So there exists a cooperation, institutional one, which needs to be expanded, but that needs to be called a completely new organization. That is, I think, a bit something that is not needed because there is no such unifying common foe that would unite Azerbaijan, Pakistan, and Turkey. So it is a matter of the cooperation rather than the matter of being antagonistic against someone else.
Okay, all right. Now, I'll just ask another question to Dr. Kamer. What's the significance of Iran being part of this tour, and how does Turkey manage cooperation when it shares space with a competitor like Tehran?
Yes, actually, I mean, especially Iran's problem with the Western countries and with the United States created for Turkey a kind of dilemma as well. Because on the one hand, of course, Turkey doesn't want nuclear proliferation, Iran to have a nuclear weapon. On the other hand, Turkey doesn't want any kind of military operation to be conducted against Iran. So Turkey always try to find a diplomatic way in the solution or in the problems with Iran, with the other Western countries. Also, Turkey wants Iran to be part of the regional cooperation, but we have seen recently, especially during the Azerbaijan's problem in Karabakh, in the second Karabakh conflict, that Iran's policy really did not helpful for the Azerbaijan, and Iran, despite diplomatic messages giving some authorities in Iran, Iran really couldn't provide enough support for Azerbaijan. On the contrary, there is a strong perception in Azerbaijan and in the Turkic world that Iran was quite helpful towards the Armenian side. But we know that after the Second Karabakh conflict, Azerbaijan managed to get its territorial integrity, and for long struggle, Azerbaijan, after 44 days war, managed as a tribe country. So it is time for cooperation. And what Turkey expects is that Iran also should support, for example, revive of the Zengezur corridor, because Zengezur corridor really, it is very important trade of the region, very important for the regional cooperation. And if the Zengezur corridor becomes operational as soon as possible, all regional countries will benefit from it. Turkey hopes that Iran also sees it, because all years of conflict, all years of occupation of Azerbaijan's territories by Armenian forces really didn't provide any good for any country in the region as well. At the end, Armenia also suffered from this. We hope that Iran also realize this fact and play more constructive role for the regional cooperation, and supports for the Zengezur corridor, supports for the Trilateral format that Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Pakistan constitute. And we hope that some international organizations like Organization of Islamic Countries, Regional Cooperation Organization, Turkey and Iran cooperates there, and this will obviously regional cooperation and benefit, economically benefit of, provides the benefit of all the countries in the region anyway.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all we have time for on the program today. Thank you to each and every one of you for your insights. Now, strategic gratitude or diplomatic management for something bigger. As Pakistan re-engages key regional allies, the subtext is clear. Relationships in this part of the world are not static. They're fluid, conditional, and increasingly transactional. As alliances shift and multipolarity takes shape, the next chapter of regional diplomacy may be written not in summits, but in sustained strategic visits like these. That's Context. I'm Dilek Tuna. Thanks for watching.